Hello, I'm Richard Mize, real estate editor for the Oklahoman and newsok.com. Today, talking with Jim Perrick, senior vice president and retail specialist with Price Edwards and Company, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the highlights of the year-end retail market property market summary. So,
Great.
and his office is just catty corner from us downtown, about 65 feet probably. Did you take the streetcar over?
I would have, except the traffic lights weren't synced properly to get on. No, I jumped over a track, but that's about it.
Right.
So.
The streetcars are just about as long as the distance to walk from here to your office. That brings up the point that you brought out specifically this time, which downtown is kind of hopping in a way that it hasn't in a long time. So kind of tie that together, or
sure.
Or is there a connection?
No, I think there is a connection, and we have seen a lot of activity in downtown this past year. Downtown Oklahoma City did a survey and showed that 57 new businesses opened in downtown this past year. 18 closed, but that's pretty good activity and good progress, I think. And some of that is that there's more spaces available. There's been a number of buildings built and remodeled this past year from some of our local developers that has helped. But I think it's also just kind of the momentum of getting enough scale of retail and mixed use downtown that it's starting to make a difference. And so we've continued to see that growth.
The space along the track is popular now, isn't it? I mean, I haven't seen the hard numbers, but I've seen information about property values increasing right along where the track runs or where the stops are. I mean, that's real stuff to a retailer, isn't it?
Without a doubt. And you know, one of the benefits of our streetcar is that it circulates people among downtown, and so the people that live and work around here can get to those places quicker. And so we are seeing, you know, we have a retail specialist, Allison Bailey, that focuses on downtown, really good at it, and she's getting a lot more inquiries about people along the tracks. And then she's hearing good things from the people that have existing stores about traffic and people getting to them through the streetcar.
Let's talk about the market as a whole. You had a vacancy of 92% at the end of this year, unchanged from the year before. How does that happen when there's so much going on? I mean, we're not sitting still. We're spinning our wheels, or I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But settles unchanged. Just talk about that.
Okay, so the raw numbers are unchanged from year to year, like you said, but a lot of stuff has happened. On the good side, I would say a couple of things. We've actually added about 625,000 square feet of space, and so we absorbed that space and kept the same occupancy. Also, rents have stayed about the same, and so that is good news, so it shows positive growth in the market. I think also if you look at retailers nationally and locally, some of the worst is behind us, and so store closures have declined, layoffs have lessened. You're always going to have some of that in retail because retail is kind of creatively destructive. And so sales numbers across most retailers have improved over this past year, which is, and we saw holiday sales of 5.1% being the highest they were in 6 years.
Wow. So
there's a number of good things going on in retail, but at the same time we had some people close. We had the Toys R Us close here locally. You know, at the first of the year we had a couple of Gordmans close. And the way the numbers have stayed the same is we've had a few people backfill those locations.
With new stores or expansions or both?
A little bit of both. So to give Gordmans as a good example, so the Gordmans on Memorial Road was backfilled by Hobby Lobby. Now Hobby Lobby left a vacant space, so there's still that vacancy. The Gordmans in Moore was backfilled by Urban Air, and that's new to the market, and so that's a gain in occupancy. But and then there's a new wave of kind of discounters coming to town, and deep discounters sometimes, like Ollie's and Dirt Cheap. And so some of the companies like that are backfilling some of that bigger space that became available.
Could you break down the 625,000 square feet at all, either, I mean, big box or strip centers or standalones, or what kind of combination?
It is a combination of all that. Probably the biggest single chunk of it is Sooner Rose. So Sooner Rose at 15th and Sooner in Midwest City is a new development that is adding a Warren Theater that's about to open. It just added an Academy that opened this year. And has a number of outparcel restaurants that are going in. That's the biggest chunk, and then there's been little additions to developments and a few standalone boxes as well.
Jim, talk about new construction. Costco is it still, isn't it, in terms of drawing the oxygen out of the room? People are still concentrating on it.
People have wanted Costco forever. They love Costco, and they're finally here. So they're going to open their first store here in Oklahoma City. It is under construction. As we were talking beforehand, it is one of the fastest construction jobs known to man, and my understanding is they're supposed to open in April.
And it's southeast of Western and Gilpatrick, right?
That is correct.
Right across from Chisholm?
Right across the street from Chisholm, yes, in the St. Anthony's.
That place has gone from pasture to a center of gravity just so fast.
The city and ODOT are meeting as we speak to figure out how to make that intersection work better, because there's going to be even more traffic than there is now. So that's part of it. I mentioned earlier Sooner Rose. They've added Academy and a Hobby Lobby and are working on a Warren Theater, and so that's part of the new construction. Most of the rest of new construction has been smaller deals like the Container Store at Penn Square Mall and that sort of thing. And then there's been a lot of little construction around strip centers, 10 to 25,000 square feet.
You know, it was years that people talked about and anticipated Costco.
Right.
Who's next? Who are we going to be talking about now? Or who are
well, we're getting one that's kind of in that, I would put in that same category, REI, which is going into, is another backfill of a box space. So when Babies R Us went out of Belle Isle, a little over half of that's being taken by REI. And they have kind of a cult following, kind of like Costco and Trader Joe's. I think the next big one may be Restoration Hardware. And I don't have any news to announce, but they've been looking around, and ultimately they may be kind of one of the next kind of sexy national tenants that people want.
All right, think about the submarkets. Which is the one that has the most, where's the news, positive or negative, of your submarkets, the way Price Edwards breaks it down?
Right.
Where's the headline, and what is it?
You know, I don't know that there is a headline between the markets where one's pulling ahead necessarily the others. As we started out this segment by talking about that we ended up vacancy-wise at the end of the year the same place we did at the first of the year, that's kind of how the submarkets are. The ones that have always kind of been ahead of the game, so low vacancy, Moore Norman, North Oklahoma City, Edmond are kind of still the leaders in the clubhouse. You know, the ones that are kind of gaining are probably Midwest City, because of the demographics of Midwest City. I think people are figuring out are better than thought. And then South Oklahoma City too has seen some gains, although they're lagging a little bit.
Very good. Anything to add?
You know, one thing that I think is interesting in the study, we have a list of sales, and the sales for the year are different, meaning the biggest ones by far are the two malls. So Quail Springs Mall and Sooner Mall in Norman sold in a big portfolio sale from General Growth to Brookfield. And we don't really know ultimately what effect that's going to have on the malls. And both of those malls have some challenges in their future, and so hopefully Brookfield can figure it out and make good things happen there. I think the other thing is that we had four foreclosures of shopping centers this past year, and so we haven't seen a lot of retail foreclosures of larger shopping centers, and so these were done and done kind of quietly.
They were done quietly. They didn't make a huge splash, and I think that sometimes that perception is based on the tenor of the market as a whole.
Right.
And we've got a pretty good market, it seems like, right?
Right.
Just chugging along. Usually the foreclosures jump out when the market's staggering in the first place.
And three of those, Berkshire, Mayfair Village, and Midland, were all loans that expired and their previous owners couldn't refinance them. So it's a little bit different animal than your normal foreclosure. And then the fourth one, Parkway in Norman, as we all know, had a ton of tenants move out, and that just kind of buried the owner.
But the loan ones those were financial issues, not performance necessarily.
Yeah, the centers were doing okay, but owners didn't want to put more money into a property to refinance them.
Real good. Well, I'll let you go so you can catch the streetcar back.
Okay, thank you.
45 feet away. I'm Richard Mize, real estate editor with the Oklahoman and News OK, talking with Jim Perrick from Price Edwards and Company, commercial real estate in Oklahoma City.